got tongue-tied there. It came over, just unfortunately cut out. I couldn't really understand it, but I do have it documented. Generally, CHP, their policy is to recommend action if there's a crime, something criminal, even though vehicle code technically is a crime. You're violating a driving infraction, driving laws. But generally, he told me that their policy is to recommend none unless there's some sort of criminal action. But that's not my recommendation. I've filed previous complaints regarding unsafe driving of Oroville police officers, and I believe these issues not being addressed has led up to this collision. So my recommendation is that some updated training or current training...
Sir, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay, well then
you.
I'll just conclude with, I hope there can be a refresher on proper driving during Code 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else wish to address the council that may be in there? No, thank you. Thank you. There's no one else present that wishes to address the council.
Having no other members of the public present that wish to address the council, Mr. City Administrator, you say you have 2 letters from a citizen?
Yes, and
Mr.
I will. The 2 letters are regarding agenda items. I'll read those as the appropriate agenda items come up. One of them has already been read to council regarding closed session.
Okay, great. With that, we're going to end public communication. Looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, respectfully, I'd like to pull items 2, 5, and 8.
Is there anyone else who wishes to pull any items from the consent calendar? Having none, I'm looking for a motion to accept the consent calendar with items 2, 5, and 8 pulled.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Hatley. Councilmember Pittman.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson.
Yes.
Member Draper. Councilmember Thompson. No, sorry. Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. City Administrator, you pulled item number 2 from the consent calendar. Do you wish to comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I just wish to provide the council some additional information. I'm going to read the public comment that came into the council regarding numerous items on the agenda, and each one of these items that are on here will be addressed as we approach or deal with that item. But I'm just going to read you the email in whole at this time. It says, Dear Mayor and City Council members, I have numerous comments regarding the August 11, 2020, 4:30 meeting agenda. Consent calendar comments. Please always specify the cost on the agenda. As nearly as I can tell, $50,000 may be spent for a drone without competitive bidding. It also appears that $50,000 may be spent on a roof for the Oroville Airport structure without competitive bidding. The agenda does specify the amount. Finally, on consent item 8, amending the permanent local housing allocation grant application, the resolution you are asked to sign suggests that there was a public hearing on July 21 and no comments were received. In fact, it was only a consent calendar item on July 21, so the public never was invited to make comments. Further, as the amendment now includes details that were not there on July 21, namely that this will be focused on Southside Oroville Blight, the public never had the underlying information that may have elicited comments. To my mind, each of these concerns validates this or violates the spirit, if not the letter, of the Brown Act. Comment on item number 9, Community Development Block Grant re-COVID-19 cost. It appears the council is asked to consider applying virtually all of the $100,000 plus grant to a new building for City of Hope on 5th Avenue. Given the numerous vacant buildings in Oroville and the distance of such location from other social services, is this the best plan? Comment item number 10, $270,000 sewer lining contract. The low bid is $200,000 lower than the next lowest bid, suggesting it may be unwise to accept the bid. Comment item number 12, $120,000 annual tree trimming contract. The low bid is significantly lower than the other three bids, suggesting that it may be unwise to accept that bid. Also, the staff memo suggests, but does not say, that the city arborist has seen satisfactory work for Oroville by each of the four bidders. This should be clarified. Comment number 10, CHEC Road Consultants. While the agenda covers the $16,000 first part of this contract, the staff memo indicates there is a $12,000 second part, with an aggregate of $28,000. Should this be put out to bid? Thank you for considering these comments. Tasha Levinson. Now, if I could, on item number 2, it's the purchase, it's the request from staff to purchase a drone for the city of Oroville. The drone will be utilized for not only capturing and cataloging what the condition of our roadways look like, our roadway markings, our signage, our detention ponds that we have for drainage runoff. It's going to be utilized by every single department, specifically our GSI department. The reason why it's so expensive is that it's coming with all of the cameras that are necessary, additional software. It also comes with training for up to 4 pilots that will have FAA licenses that are necessary to operate something like that. This will be utilized for code enforcement purposes, and it will also be utilized for gathering information and video for the council. So when we come to you and we say, hey, we need to put a new roof on something, or we need to expand a drainage pond or something like that, we can actually provide you aerial footage of what we're talking about, so the council has an idea of what we're actually talking about, what we're actually going to do with this. This is a very expensive piece of equipment. This is not something that is a toy that you're going to get at Costco for $199 or something like that. This is an extremely expensive, sophisticated piece of equipment that requires licensing to actually operate. The monies for this are going to come from all across the city operational budgets from each department. Some will come from police, some will come from fire, some will come from code enforcement, some will come from buildings, some will come from our engineering department, some will come from GIS. Every department you can imagine, we're going to take a small piece of to pay for this. We are asking for some overage in this because the actual cost is going to be approximately $32,000 for the equipment as listed on here. This pricing was, we went out on to the market and looked, and we obtained 4 quotes on this equipment. This is the best price. This was $32,000 that included all of that. We are asking for the extra room in the budget for this in the event that we need additional softwares to link with our GSI equipment, or we need additional equipment to this thing as we get it, or additional training, or training additional pilots. It's recommended that we have more than 1 pilot, not just 1, especially when we're utilizing funding from each budget. So I just wanted to provide clarity and clear up any questions that Tasha may have about that. Yes, we did go out and look. We did get multiple prices on this, and those were included with the packet that came. So we didn't just grab the first one and pick that one. But this is going to be a multi-use tool, I believe, that is a good tool for the city.
Councilmember Goodson, did you wish to comment?
Thank you so much, Mayor Reynolds. I just wanted to piggyback off of something that Bill said. Yes, that this was well researched. It was vetted. There were 4 quotes, 4 bids, and they were all similarly priced. Additionally, it's duly noted that not just 1 pilot, but the 2 would be trained. And that, in addition to the travel alone, is approximately $12,000. So it's not just the cost of the equipment, but it's the facilitation, overseership, etc. So I thank you for doing that research, and I believe that it was Leo that brought that to our attention. That would be a benefit to all of our city and departments as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Hatley?
Yes, thank you. The question I have, when you mentioned, we could oversee like the retention ponds and that kind of thing, what kind of weather can these things fly in?
I would think that it would have to be weather, couldn't be inclement. It couldn't be,
I can't, what?
it couldn't be inclement weather. I don't believe that heavy rain would be inappropriate. You know, this thing, it's not that big. It's not like what you would see on television, like a military grade, where it looks like a plane or anything. It looks like a little square thing with four propellers on the top. Looks like a helicopter, essentially. So we'd have to be careful with that, with the wind, too. One of the features that we did ask for in this, that if it does get out of range of or away from the home base, from where it took off with it, it will automatically return to its last place of origin, so that this piece of equipment doesn't just fly away on us. If it blows away now, you know, we're not going to be taking it out in those situations. Where we would use it with our retention ponds is we need to assess those and determine if they're big enough now to handle the amount of drainage that we're getting because of new construction. So development impact fees will also be used on this, because some of these retention ponds, particularly the one up off of Foothill and Ore Dam, are going to need to be increased in size because of new construction in that area with additional sheeting of water off of properties. So we'll use it for the assessment of those type things. We won't actually use it when it's raining and windy to see what the flooding is, unless there is some sort of super critical situation where we have to do that.
I was just curious what
Yeah,
kind of
no,
weather
it's
they
a
can
good
fly
question.
in. I wasn't suggesting we fly them in a
No.
hailstorm, but I was just kind of curious. Now, is this going to be like and I saw one of these things at Bryce Canyon when we were there on vacation, okay? And they had like a laptop. So they took it, I mean, they were flying it out over the canyon and stuff. Now, is that what it's going to be? So the operator or pilot will actually take that and go to an area they want to
Yeah.
work? They're not going to be like in the basement here and
No.
working out of there.
No,
It's
we're not going to
be-
have a bunker.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
we are. It is something like that where they do go out and they will be able to see. It has cameras and different things on it, so that we can record what we're actually seeing at the time. You know, get up close views of things. We can record roadway conditions. It will have all of that, but the operator must go out in the field.
Will it be a, where it can come back here, like, I know you have a big screen in your office. If, say Leo was here and your operator was out looking at stuff, if he had something he wanted him to look at, or he wanted some more, rather than having to go back out, would there be where he could see kind of what they're doing?
Yeah, I believe that you could connect it that way. You could do it over the internet to feed that information back to City Hall, where you could have somebody looking at that. You could have the council actually inspecting a project. I think that's one of the values of this thing, is that it could be out there flying and the council can actually see, you know, what has gone on, or what the condition of a road is or something like that. But yes, I think that you would connect with the operator with your cell phone, and, you know, hypothetically, if the engineer was looking at something and needed a better view, he could direct the operator to take it over here and I need a better shot of that.
Okay. I was just curious what capabilities it might have. Thank you.
Excuse me. Are there any more comments on item number 2?
Question.
Councilmember Pittman.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 questions on the item. One is, will it have infrared nighttime capabilities?
I do not know the answer to that. I'm not sure that we're going to be flying it at night.
Okay.
But I can check that out. I'm not 100% sure.
I see, because the reason is I see some value if it can, especially along our riverfront and those kind of places. The other question is, have you thought, or is there a thought that this might be available based upon emergencies, as an emergency response item for helping to cover and/or offer strategic views of an incident such as a police incident or a fire incident and those kind of things?
Potentially, yes, but typically those are closed areas. There's no drones allowed in those areas
Right.
because of other flying, potentially flying equipment that may be up in the air. So, and I don't think typically that's as helpful as it could be harmful. So, but yes, absolutely. If the need was there and the request was made, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
thank
that's
you.
why I think it's important to also have the multidisciplinary training, so that in a fire situation, when fire may want something like this and
Right.
it's appropriate, you know, they know what they're looking for, as opposed to our GSI specialist or our GSI specialist may not necessarily know what they're looking for. You know, he's very good at what he does, but that's not his discipline. So that's why the necessity of multidisciplinary training.
I think even after the incident, I think the value of some of our weed abatement and fuel management programs will be very readily visible after we see an incident and see where the fuel breaks and those things were helpful in managing any fire incident. So I even after the effect, that's what I'm also looking at is, I think it has strong possibilities for record keeping for all our incidents.
And I have to clarify that. It's the GIS specialist, not the GSI. I'm sorry, I had those number
Getting
letters
ready to
backwards.
say something.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments on this item?
I have.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes, I was just curious. I was wondering if the sheriff's department has access and they,
If we,
You're breaking up, Councilmember Goodson.
I'm also frozen.
Could you repeat what you said, please? We couldn't hear you.
All right. So I was just curious, can you hear me now? I was curious if the sheriff's department has this type of equipment and if we had reached out to them in regards to some type of partnership. And in the event that they do not, and due to some type of circumstance, if they were in need of the use of our equipment, is there some type of agreement, partnership? Just curious what that would look like.
as far as I know, they do have this type of equipment, but we are not interested in a partnership. This is too expensive of a piece of equipment to be trading back and forth. We would absolutely, though, if requested, assist them with anything that they needed. I mean, any department, as far as that goes, that we have available. It's just a very expensive piece of equipment. It's not something that you would typically see shared between departments. It's something that is exclusively yours. And just to follow up on the question about infrared, yes, there is an infrared camera.
Thank you,
Thank
Bill.
you. Are there any comments from the public?
Mr. Mayor, there are no public comments on this item.
Looking for a motion to approve the purchase of the DJI Matrix 300 RTK drone from DSL Pros. Wow.
So move.
Seconded.
Councilmember Hatley. Councilmember Pittman.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson.
Yes.
Councilmember Draper. Vice Mayor Thompson. Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. City Administrator, you also pulled item number 5 from the consent calendar. Do you wish to comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This was regarding the re-roof of a building at the airport. Just for additional clarity for the council on this and regarding the question that was contained within the email from the Ms. Levinson, this was put out to bid with two different companies. One bid came in at $63,000. This bid came in at $57,000. So this is the cheaper of the two bids. The contractor that was awarded the contract is currently doing the roof at the municipal auditorium. We have had a difficult time finding roofers for projects. We put one out to bid 3 times and got no response. So we have reached out to individuals on this. We have had 2 responses. One was, again, $63,000. This one was $57,000. We went with the cheaper of the 2. This is an emergency repair. There are buckets in this building as well catching water that's coming through the roof. It's leaking primarily over an office area in the hangar that has computers and various office equipment in it that we need to take care of. This particular hangar is the home of the sheriff's boat unit. So they've been in there for quite a while, so we need to update this roof. Right now, the airport has a, excuse me as I flip to the page real quick. What the hell am- The fund balance for the airport fund right now is $498,204 that are unencumbered. So we're asking to expend $57,000. $57,406.93 from that fund to re-roof this building that is in desperate need of it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from this dais? Having none, do we have anyone from the public who wishes to comment? Having none, I am looking for a motion to authorize and direct staff to execute an agreement with Butte Roofing Company in the amount of $57,406.93.
I'll second.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper? Vice Mayor Thompson? Yes. Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
The motion carries 7-0.
Mr. City Administrator, you also pulled item number 8 from the consent calendar. Do you wish to comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Item number 8, Ms. Levinson is correct. On July 21, there was not a public hearing that was conducted on this. This particular grant does not require a public hearing. It only requires public input. It was placed onto the consent agenda. No one asked to have it pulled, whether it was staff, council, or the public. So an opportunity for public comment was provided. None was received. We are now placing it back on the agenda because the state has asked for some changes to the resolution. And to have an abundance of caution in this matter, I'm going to have Ms. Nevers explain some of this to you, what those changes are, and also afford the public or anyone that feels like they would like to comment on this, the opportunity to comment on it. I would just really want to be careful and cautious in this area. I don't like people not feeling like they weren't allowed to comment, especially when there's a item here that they could comment on. So with that, I'm going to allow Ms. Nevers to take it from there.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The two items specifically requested by HCD were that the activities being applied for be detailed within the resolution of the staff report. Additionally, to identify that a public comment period or opportunity was made available to the public. And so both of those line items have been added to this resolution. They are highlighted in your resolution in the yellow. Are there any questions?
I have none. Does anyone have any questions on this item? Are there any questions from the public on this item?
There is no public comment, Mr. Mayor.
Having no comments, I'm looking for a motion to adopt amended resolution number 8889-1.
So moved.
I second that.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Okay.
you
Councilmember
repeat?
Draper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson? Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, at this time, we're moving on to public hearings. At this time, I'm going to open this up for a public hearing. We have one item, public hearing, Community Development Block Grant Program, Coronavirus Response Round 1, CDBG-CV1. Mr. City Administrator.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. What this item is before you for this public hearing is regarding the Community Development HCD announcement on June 5, 2020 of the Coronavirus Response Round 1 CDBG-CV1 Notice of Funding Availability. In that Notice of Funding Availability, the City of Oroville was notified that we are eligible for $114,878 for COVID-related expenses to the City of Oroville. However, it's not quite that wide open, that anything that's COVID-related you could actually be funded for. We have been working back and forth with HCD and CDBG to determine what we can spend on this. We have put many ideas past them, anything including from adding public restrooms for more accessibility for hand washing, because we have an issue in the city with lack of public restrooms, to multiple different things. Anything that you can potentially imagine, we bounce back and forth. I've sent multiple emails via Ms. Bergstrom back and forth with the state regarding this. I have those here in front of me. And every one of those was met with a no. The only thing that was, they told us that we could be eligible to spend this money for were a couple different things. One was to purchase PPE that we would then distribute throughout the community to either nonprofits or low-income businesses. Or the other one that showed on there that we could do would be acquisition of property. So we sent an email to them and we asked them, just out of curiosity and if we could do this, could we use this money to acquire property for the delivery of services, non-services to the unhoused in a non-congregate setting? And the answer is yes. Coincidentally, we have also received a flyer in the mail, essentially, soliciting a donation from the Hope Center. The Hope Center is currently trying to purchase an existing building on Fifth Avenue. I believe it's 2620 or 2820. It's an existing building so that they can move their operation down there. The issue that the Hope Center has ran into at their current location is it's too small that to deliver the services now because of the requirement of 6 foot of social distancing between individuals, and just too small a space for them. Plus, there's new owners of the building and things are just not quite what they once were there. So they're looking to purchase this. They're looking to raise these dollars to do that. What we suggested was that we apply for these dollars, and then if the dollars do come through, we put those through in a forgivable loan, type of a loan, to the Hope Center for the down payment assistance necessary to purchase this building on Fifth Avenue. What it does for us is it does a couple things. The $114,878 is not 100% pass-through. We retain 17 to 19% of this money for administration of this particular grant or forgivable loan. The other thing that it does for the city, which is a benefit to the city, is it moves the Hope Center, or allows them the ability to move to a new location that is much more appropriate than our downtown core. They agree that they need to move, we believe they need to move, and our downtown businesses also believe they need to move. So this would facilitate that move without the expenditure of any general fund dollars. Now, this would be structured in such a way that we would write this so that this money was not released or put into any sort of an escrow account until they were ready to close the deal. And what I mean by that is we don't want to put it into a non-refundable escrow account where, for some reason the deal falls through and then all of a sudden the money is captured by the person, the seller of the property, and we're just out $95,000 that we need to reimburse to CDBG. So what we're suggesting is that we make application for the $114,878, which actually works out to be just about $95,000 as a forgivable loan to help relocate the Hope Center to a new building on Fifth Avenue in a much more appropriate location so they can deliver those services of non-congregate services to the unhoused in Oroville. And if Amy were here, she would tell you that I was mostly correct.
Do we have any comments from the public, Madam Clerk?
We do have a speaker on this item.
Who is it?
Hello. Good afternoon, evening, council. Bobby O'Reilly. Just want to say thank you for looking at possible solutions to a much large problem that we have. So all the help is appreciated. Looking for solutions is appreciated, and it's been long overdue for some solutions for this particular topic in Oroville. Thanks again.
Having no more comments from the public, are there any comments from the dais?
If I could, Mr. Mayor, just one more point of clarity. Ms. Levinson's concern was that we were purchasing or building a new building. This is an existing structure. This is not for the building of a new facility. It's new to them, but it is an existing structure.
Councilmember Hatley, you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you. Let me get done here so I can see what I'm doing. I have a couple of questions on this. I noticed in the request from the Hope Center, on the back page, the last paragraph right before "we need a larger facility," it's that paragraph right above that. It said that their rent, apparently an out-of-town purchaser purchased the property they're on right now, and they doubled the rent. I guess my concern is this building down there that they're looking at is $1 million building, I'm sure. So I'm just trying to figure out if they can't make the rent kind of looks like this and still provide service. I don't want to get in a position where we give 95,000,
Sure.
a loan, forgivable loan at 95,000, and then turn around and
We're not assuming a position in the note. If we make a forgivable loan and they, for some reason, go defunct on this, that is not something where we would have to come in and clear the first in order for us to do anything. So we're not going to have a position in the note. This is going to be given, it'll be monitored, I believe, probably for 5 years. After that, it's a forgiven process. But I think any issue as far as if they go defunct and they don't do that, we would have to examine what that would require of us, but I don't believe it's going to require anything of us.
okay, we wouldn't be on the hook to the state or?
No, we're not going to go into the position on the note so that we have to clean anything, where if we're in the second position, we have to clear the first in order for us to get the property, in order for us to, we're not doing anything like that. It'd be similar to when you see CDBG or HCD loans that we make for first-time home buyers, and we do what's called it's a very common thing that we do from time to time, unfortunately, but it's a non-foreclosure is what we would do. We would just walk away.
Okay, and then on the,
And I would have to, if I could, Councilman Hatley, just for clarity for everybody, this isn't a guaranteed slam dunk. I mean, we have to go through the process. We have to write this. We have to send it in. If we don't get this funding, then none of this will happen. I mean, so this is right now, what we're looking for is just input and permission from the council to submit it for this purpose.
okay, and, because I was just wondering, I'm watching, of course, there's nothing else to do but kind of sit and watch the news all the time, but like right now, we're starting back with a school year and that kind of thing with the kids and all that, and they're kind of in a dilemma as how that's going to work out. Could these funds in any way be used, if they're going to let the kids back in school, like for masks or hand sanitizers or any of that, could money be used for that? And that's one question.
You could potentially look at that. The schools have their own revenue and funding sources where they would go for this. Also, keep in mind that we have recently received, I believe Chief Deal can straighten me out on this, but I think we received something like 500,000 masks or 250,000 masks through Cal OES, and 90 or how many pallets of
500,000 masks and over 100,000 gallons. So
we had over 100,000 gallons of hand sanitizer delivered from Cal OES and 500,000 face masks delivered from Cal OES.
So we already have that.
There's more available.
Okay.
Most of that's been given out, believe it or not, and distributed through the community, and we're actually working now to get some more. But those resources are available through other outlets.
Okay, and when this, because I only saw the one thing from was this kind of put out to the public that these funds were
No, we
available
didn't-
so people could apply for them, or was this?
No, sir, we didn't do that. What we did is we were looking at internally what we would do with these monies and how we would use those would best fit the needs of what we believed of our community. We have a very narrow window to get this thing submitted. We have until the 26th of August to have the grant completed and submitted to CDBG for this. So we didn't go out through a long process of interviewing anybody or anything. What we did is we sent in the request. We asked for multiple different things that we could potentially do for this, and the two things that we were told is acquisition of property for non-congregate delivery of services to the unhoused and PPE.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Draper, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, I just have a question for Mr. LeGrand. I was under the impression that the portal for this grant began June 8th and ran through the end of August for applications. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. The notification came out after June 5th.
Okay.
It was right around that time frame.
So it's about 3 months is the deal.
Correct.
And I'm just wondering, you know, for other organizations in the community that were not able to apply for this, it looks like we're playing favorites here.
Well, the reality is that when this came on August 5th, it wasn't ready for release at that point. There was no parameters given. It was just you're eligible for this money. And then it took time for CDBG and HCD to come up to speed to tell us what would be the parameters for this. So we haven't just been sitting on it and not notifying anybody. Once we received what the parameters of this could potentially be for, that's when we started having the correspondence back and forth about what we could potentially do with this. So no, and I know and I understand what you're saying. I mean, but that is not it was not the intent or anything else. It took time for everybody to come up to speed. The pandemic is moving at, light speed, and we're just I think everybody is just trying to keep up with it, including CDBG and HCD.
All right, well, thank you.
I'd like to comment on that too. We weren't looking to benefit any particular agency. We were actually looking towards benefit for the city and to move this entity out of the downtown because it's become much larger than even they had anticipated. So this would be quite a benefit to the city. Are there any other comments? Councilmember Pittman?
One quick question, the property that the agency is going for, are they looking to a long-term lease or a purchase?
This is going to be for a purchase contract. They are purchasing the property for approximately $1.1 million.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Draper, did you wish to speak again?
No, I'm sorry.
You're up.
I'm sorry, I meant to remove that. Now I'm good.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that during the campfire incident, the Hope Center really stepped up and provided tremendous amount of services, of course, to all the impacted as a result of that. And I think really demonstrated as a worthy nonprofit that provides much needed services and ongoing, that they have contracts and providing ongoing services to that area and to the greater Butte County. And so essentially I think what we're doing here in part is we're helping establish that foothold of an agency that can deliver on a scale of that magnitude, and that they have demonstrated that ability, and so that just speaks well of them as an agency and organization. And to have that established here in Oroville, I think, is a benefit to our community because, as we all know, we live in an area with wildlands adjacent to our town. We're in an area that, from time to time can be impacted by various types of emergencies. And so to have that type of a agency established here in Oroville, I think it's just it's a win-win. And so I just want to offer that perspective as that agency has demonstrated just a tremendous service to Butte County, really. And people just, as I see it, really speak highly of that organization and the good work that they've done. So I think they're deserving of it.
Are there any comments from the, we already asked for public comments. Public comments are closed. Okay, well, having no more comments, we are looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8898.
So moved?
Councilmember Hatley,
This is just applying, right?
Yes, sir. We're going to make application for it, and then we probably won't know for a couple months whether we've received this grant funding or not.
Yes.
Councilmember Pittman,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes?
Councilmember Goodson, Councilmember Goodson,
Councilmember Goodson, can you hear?
Did you hear me?
I think she's
I
froze.
can now. What was your vote?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, and with that, we will close public hearing. Moving on to regular business. Item number 10, award of contract Oroville Sewer Lining Project.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is an item that's been brought forward to us from our acting city engineer, Mr. Thompson. He has identified through the regular inspection of our sewer pipes throughout the city the worst areas that need the most repair. We would like to have the council authorize those repair using a method called slip lining. It's essentially something where a piece of heavy rubber is inserted into a pipe. It's then expanded and it seals the leak so that we don't have any infiltration and intrusion. I&I is a big issue because a lot of water ends up at the sewer treatment plant that is not necessarily sewer water, but once it enters into the system, it must be treated as sewer water and treated. So it is a big issue, and we are a big contributor that all sewer systems in the area do that, and slip lining is a common technique used to fix those. This was put out to bid, and we have received 4 bids back. The low bid was from a NorCal Pipeline Services. Mr. Thompson is a professional engineer. He has done this for many years. He sent this bid out. He evaluated these bids, has looked at them and compared them, and has determined that the bid of $255 is a comparable bid to the next bid, which is $472,000. A concern was expressed by Ms. Levinson regarding that this was $200,000 cheaper and should be considered, we should therefore not consider the bid. I'm going to go with the recommendation of my professional engineer that says that this is a good bid, this is a sufficient bid. There is a map included on page 103 that will show you the areas. They are put inside of squares and rectangles of where this slip lighting will occur. This is something that we should be doing annually, will be doing annually to update our sewer collection system. The bid is $270,255 with a 10% contingency of $27,000. Anything that goes above that, for a maximum amount of $297,000, would have to come back to this council for any approval. Right now, there's a fund balance in the sewer fund of approximately $995,000. That does include the already taking out the $1.4 million that you had included or authorized previously for the sewer line replacement on Montgomery Street and the Table Mountain area. So that is after that, there's an ending fund balance or a fund balance available of $9,995,000. We're asking to spend $270,000, a maximum of $297,000 out of that to slip line the collection system in the areas indicated on the map attached to the report. Excuse me.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Having no comments from the public, I'm looking for comments from the dais, if any. The correspondence with the citizen that is concerned about the big spread in the bids. What's going on right now with contracting and bidding is, depending on workload, most everybody's buried under with contracts and workload, and you get people that throw numbers out there sometimes that, if they get it, they get it. It's pie in the sky, and then you'll have somebody who has a different situation where they're just finishing up some projects and their bid is a little more accurate. And I am inclined to go along with the engineer that this is a good bid.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, our engineer is here tonight. I don't know if the council has met Matt Thompson yet, but Matt, if you could just stand up. This is Matt. He's our contract engineer now that we're using in-house. He is our acting city engineer, but Matt has many years' experience, previously worked for the city of Chico and is now working for the city of Oroville as a contract 24-hour-a-week engineer. He's doing an outstanding job for us. It's amazing the little bit of time that he's here, the amount of work that he pushes out. So I've been very happy with Matt. I trust Matt's recommendation, and I also make that recommendation to you. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Matt can
Welcome.
answer any questions that you may have of a technical nature for this, if you have any.
Having no comments, looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8899.
Second.
Second.
Councilmember Hatley?
Yes.
Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes?
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Moving on to item number 11, contracting with Check Management Systems Incorporated to provide a road condition assessment for the 11 plus or minus miles covering our industrial area.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Reynolds. Yeah, we're here tonight to bring forth this pavement management assessment prior to the start of the tree removal and the building log decks here in town. We kind of got caught flat-footed a little bit prior on some of the road conditions, and we've had trouble getting FEMA and Cal OES to reimburse us based on the amount of documentation we made on prior operations in the recovery. So what we're doing here is to preempt the actions that are going to be taken and the traffic that's going to be on the roads due to the log decks that are proposed in town. Currently, we have 2 proposed locations, possibly 3 in town. This covers that entire area. This was additionally, Ms. Levinson was concerned about the bidding of this. The reason we chose Check is because they actually performed our most recent pavement management assessment in the city, and this is just doing an update of an area that was covered during that time. So it's quite a bit, it's not even considered a full, they're just doing an update. So they already know the condition of it prior, they're updated to current. Additionally, the reason we didn't include the second portion is because based on the traffic we have over the time of this recovery and these log decks, we will then evaluate doing the secondary portion of this, and at that point in time, we'd bring that back to you as well. So once again, the reason we're utilizing them as a sole source is because they did our prior PCI. Our recommendation is to approve the attached proposal from Check Management Systems Incorporated and to authorize the mayor to sign this contract. Timely execution will enable SC to get a pre-operation assessment done prior to the inception of the pending recovery operations.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public?
No, sir, we have none.
Having no comments from the public, do we have any comments from the dais? Councilmember Hatley?
Very good. What fund does this come out of?
This one here will come out of, this will come out of gas tax dollars. It can come out of that.
How much is in that fund?
We have a total of $3.5 million available for that, but we're also going to be utilizing those sort of funds toward our pavement.
I'm sorry, for what?
We'll be utilizing those funds additionally toward our pavement management as well for the year, but we still have a margin of about 500,000 in between the two.
Okay. So that's,
3.5 million, the pavement manager's going to run about 2.7 million. That leaves us about 800,000 in there. We're asking to spend the $16,000 off of those totals.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Draper wishes to speak.
I just have a question of Leo. Is there some ballpark idea of how long this may take for these tree removals and processing of the waste from the trees?
Well, there won't be processing waste on site. It's log decks that they'll be transferring to site. Biomass is a major contractor who'll be pulling that. So what they're trying to do is shorten the time it takes to get them off the hill and get them in a local log deck. And then additionally, they'll be taking them from there and they'll be pushing that out and processing the waste off site. They're looking at 12 to 18 months of having these log decks in town. You're looking at about 150 trucks per day, truck trips per day per site on the city. So we're really trying to document the conditions as they are so that we will definitely get reimbursement on the damage that we will incur from these trips. So it's additionally why we brought the post-disaster temporary use permit, got that put in place. Additionally, we would be charging scale tonnage on these sites as well, so.
Councilmember Smith? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I wasn't quite finished, but it's going to be even more damage after the last year and a half or so that we've had all those trucks coming through, damaging the roads, and now we're going to have even more from the processing of the logs. And I remember saying after that fire, who's going to pay for the repair of the damage to the roads because of the huge increase in traffic? And so I'm really kind of concerned about this and the effect on the people, that have to drive in that area of town.
Well, this
And
is, and Councilmember Draper, Callaway S is paying for this, and this is simply a contract to assess the conditions of the road, so we will know how much they're going to pay when this is over. So it's,
right.
Yeah, this is doing our due diligence to make sure we can make a good case.
We're not finished with it, with bringing all the debris from the houses and the cars and the vehicles and everything else. Now there's going to be another year to a year and a half of processing logs and trees that were burned up there. And so it's looking to me like it's going to be like almost 3 years that we're going to be dealing with this.
yes, it's quite a devastating tragedy. Yes, it's a long road back. Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, you've actually really kind of addressed it. I just wanted clarity that we're spending good money here because we're documenting the conditions so that we can then be reimbursed for the damage to our roads. So you're just being proactive here, essentially, and just taking care of our community and looking out for Oroville, essentially, is what we're doing here.
Yeah, we're trying to do our due diligence to make sure that when we go back to them and state our case, that the cost and the damage we incurred, that we can make a good case for those reimbursement of those funds and get our share of that reimbursement, yeah.
Of course.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes, thank you, Leo, for the report. Good job. And I'm not concerned with the amount, the 16,000, or the condition assessment and 12,000. The appropriations will be available out of Fund 117. That was a special gas tax. So I just need clarification. What is the outside services, 5071 and 6360?
Outside, I'm sorry, 5071 and 6360. I don't have that in front of me here.
I believe that is the line item contained within the fund. I mean, the fund is Fund
Right.
117. Outside services is an item inside of the fund.
Okay, thank you.
Having no more comments, We are looking to approve the attached proposal from Check Management Systems.
I recommend that we approve the attached proposal from the check management systems and authorize the signing of that contract.
Second that.
Councilmember Hatley? Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes?
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to item number 12, authorization to award contract for tree pruning services.
Hello again, Mayor and council members. This is a request to award a contract for tree pruning services to P31 Enterprises, Inc. So following the council's approval on July 7th to publish an RFP, staff published the RFP on July 21st, and the closing date was August 5th. We received 4 proposals from qualified bidders: P31 Enterprises, Tree of Life, Utility Tree Services, and West Coast Arborist. The P31 Enterprises had the lowest and complete bid, and we are asking to award that contract to that contractor.
Do we have any
questions?
comments from the public?
Mr. O'Reilly would like to comment. Go ahead, Mr. O'Reilly.
Good afternoon. Yet again, thank you for the opportunity. I just want to state that the lowest bid isn't always the best. I do know that I was informed by another owner of a tree company that they were not aware of the process going out, that it was opening back up. However, Ms. Nevers' comments clearly state that it was, so that's irrelevant at this point. But I do, again, want to throw out there that the cheapest bid isn't always the best. I know that we've had many, many great concerns with our trees in our city, hazardous areas. There's places where I won't drive now because the trees are so low that they hit my windshield. Obviously, we need the services, but we also need the individuals who can do the services the proper way. And I would strongly urge the council to look at some things that have recently occurred with the company that you're about to put into place. Thank you.
There are no other comments, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any comments from the dais?
I just have a request.
Councilmember Smith?
So regarding P31, I understand that they do work for other large entities. That being said, as the previous comment was made about always the lowest bid, and looking at the other bids, they were very close. And then P31 was, you know, on the daily rate, quite a bit lower, in $300 and something lower. And I would just ask that that we carefully monitor that, and because we know what the quality of work that we've experienced with other contractors that have done like service, and so we just ask that staff closely monitor that, so that if there is a problem or they're not able to actually meet, you know, what they've, you know, promised contractually, that we execute, you know, go another route with that.
Right.
I'm sorry. I like to comment on the lowest price. The way it reads is lowest price or most qualified bid. Okay, so we evaluate that every time we get bids in, and we do this on a competitive basis. Many times, if we have quite a spread, that's when we will come back to you with maybe a larger contingency. That will still, even with the contingency, be well under what that next lowest bid was. So we do take it into consideration, not just the lowest bid. Most times it ends up being that, but if someone's missed something, you know, we go through these, we scour these things to make sure they're apples for apples. And if they've missed something large, or if we don't think it can, if they're too far out of an area, so how they're gonna mobilize, we take that into consideration. Their performance record, we check their license and all those sort of things. So we do, if we're not going to choose the lowest bid, we have to make sure that if we are challenged on that, it's a defensible challenge, because we will get challenged on, if you don't pick the lowest guy, you're gonna get a challenge on that. And when you get challenged, you have to be able to defend that.
Sure. And I'm not suggesting that I'm doing that. I'm just suggesting that, because there is the other three are real tight, and then that one kind of is,
No, I get
and so
that,
it just,
what they're
it does
asking for.
cause you to raise an eyebrow and go, okay, give you a shot at this.
But we had a couple other, and Miss Levinson, I'm kind of responding to hers as well, her comment as well. And just so you know, we do take great pains in making sure they're apples for apples, making sure that that lowest bid is truly going to end up being the lowest bid by the time we get change orders and whatnot included. And many times, like I said, we will come back to maybe with a larger contingency in the possibility of that, and still be well under what that next lowest bid, to make sure that if there is any gray area in there, we cover it. And when you're right, if someone has done a lot of work for us and it's really close, we definitely take that into consideration as well.
And if I may add, just as because I know we're discussing this item with this tree company, that if we're not happy, there is, stated in the contract, 15 days notice by either party that we can cancel.
Correct. We always have an out on these types of things. So this is not something that if we're unsatisfied with the work, we do have a certified tree arborist on staff who will be monitoring this work to ensure that we are getting quality work and that we're getting an adequate amount of work for what we're paying. So, we are comfortable with this bid at this point and this professional recommendation. The company is also required to do a couple different things. One is that they will also have a certified arborist on staff, and that they will have a maintenance yard in the Oroville area. They have both of those things in order to qualify for this. Just to not update the council, but make them aware this funding for this project was included in your 2021 fiscal budget. It's already in there, it's included, so we're not asking for any budget adjustment or anything like that. These dollars are already there.
And additionally, when it comes to for our sewer project, for example, it's $1.5 million. There's a performance bond in there as well, meaning if they don't perform, we attach the bond and the work gets done appropriately as well. So just for reassurance from their insurance.
Lowest qualified bid.
Lowest qualified bid.
All right, are there any other comments from the dais? Having none, we're looking for a motion to authorize staff to award the bid and sign a contract for the tree pruning services within the city's public right-of-way to P31 Enterprises Incorporated.
So moved.
I'll second.
Councilmember Hatley? Yes. Councilmember Pittman?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes?
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Mayor Reynolds?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, reports, discussions, correspondence. Are there any announcements from the council? Does anyone wish to announce anything? Councilmember Pittman?
Well, I think yourself and I serve on the scoreboard, and I think the one item you're probably going to mention and not to forget about, but SCORE just received notice of the $3.8 million bid, or not bid, but grant award, which will build a new pumping station and the entry level at SCORE, so that's a big deal. And I think the manager's been looking for that for what?
10 years.
10 years.
Yes.
So that's a good deal. That's a great thing for the community, and it certainly will help the capacity, and being that it's a grant and the property's there, that project will come forward very soon. So that's good news to hear. And
Good job.
congratulations to Mr. Manager Scott Conk for that, so.
Does anyone else have anything?
I
they
have something.
Wish to announce? Councilmember Smith?
Yeah, so the County Board of Supervisors here today passed an award or a resolution to allow for a grant program for our businesses and nonprofits. The CARES Act provided $21.4 million to Butte County. And so what the Board of Supervisors did today is that they've set up a grant program for approximately 250 Butte County businesses. So a couple of eligibility requirements. It's a simple one-page process that will become available, they're stating somewhere around the 24th or 25th of August. So I'm a business in Oroville, downtown, and I didn't get on board with the PPP. I didn't get an SBA loan, and I'm really struggling now because I didn't think that we're going to go into round two. And so with Butte County, I can apply. And it's for small businesses, truly small business. So I'm a company of 1 to 5 employees. I can receive up to $10,000 in a grant. If I'm a business between 6 and 10, then it's $15,000. And so again, it's a very simple, single-page application, and it'll be awarded on a lottery. So assuming you fill out that page, you qualify, then it'll go into a lottery process. So I just really want to encourage all of Oroville businesses, if that's you, to take advantage of this great program. And additionally, I know we were talking about the CDBG earlier and awarding dollars. So nonprofits, I'm a nonprofit. I service the homeless community or the various challenged parts of our community. There is going to be an opportunity for up to $100,000 grant awards. So some of the other nonprofits that we have, certainly take advantage again of this program. Again, you can't have received dollars through the PPP program and the SBA program, but these are dollars, real grant dollars that will become readily available soon here for some of our struggling nonprofits and struggling businesses. And I just want to I'm taking a little time here, but I just really want to stress this is grant dollars. So, you receive them, you don't have to pay them back. It's just given to you as a grant, assuming you qualify through that one-page application process. So please, Oroville, take advantage of this program. It's great. And I'm hoping, I think the city, could we put a link to the county when they do that, Bill?
Yes.
So we'd have a link here in the city. I'll have a link, or the county, Butte County, there'll be a link so you can get that application, fill it out, and get your dollars and get your help. Thank you.
Thank you. No other announcements or reports. Anyone have any ideas for future agenda items?
I hate to be that squeaky wheel.
Got it.
Mr. Legron.
We just talked about it yesterday at an executive committee meeting, and we were looking at establishing a priority list of capital improvement projects. The first project that was decided at the executive committee meeting was to get the roundabout safety and improvements done first. That includes the flashing beacons and roadway markings and realigning that so that it better meets the needs of the community. The second one was the wall. So right now what we're going to do is we're working with the engineer to find a better solution than what was presented to us when we put it out as a design build. The design build came back, the bid was $2.7 million, and that's just incredibly expensive, and I don't think it's anything that we're interested in spending the money on. So we're looking at some other avenues, utilizing some in-house resources, and we're going to be sending something back out that is the specifications that our engineer comes up with instead of just allowing it to kind of run wild. So we're still working on it. It's still there. It's the number 2 priority that we have in our capital improvement project behind the ones that are already being worked on. So it hasn't been forgotten. It is a priority, and I look forward to having it done too.
Just as an offer for you said 2.7 million, I'll do it for 2.5. Just saying.
Well, I'm going to underbid you. I got 2.4. I mean, if somebody's willing to pay it, I'm willing to take it. It's a very expensive proposition. But I believe with the new engineer, the acting engineer that we have, I believe he's going to find a solution. I believe he's going to find one that's very economical and makes sense, not what we've been getting.
Is there, this is public land, so this has to fall underneath the prevailing wage?
It would be a public or a prevailing wage type of job. The other concern we have is that it has to meet some sort of traffic pedestrian safety standards. So it does increase the cost some, but it doesn't increase it to $2.7 million. So I believe we're going to be able to do this for well under that. Well, I believe somewhere probably complete the project, and I'm just guessing, and this is probably being overly optimistic, and I probably shouldn't even throw a number out there, but I'm going to say, including landscaping and things like that. I'll defer to Leo. What do you think, Leo?
I'd be real happy if we got it.
Right, or even less, yeah. I think when we started,
Leo is saying $500,000.
I think when we started down this road, we were thinking 150.
We were thinking much lower. I mean, we didn't, at the time, we didn't appreciate the amount of, I guess, safety standard that has to go into this. The idea was to just pin it into the existing curb and use the existing curb, which I still think may be a realistic option, as opposed to the other options that were provided us. We just, quite honestly, I'll just say it. We didn't have anybody that was cooperating on engineering this for us. I mean, it was very difficult. So we've moved past that now. So we're going to come with something better.
Are we past the painted guardrail?
No, I still like the painted guardrail, and I also like the vinyl black fence. I mean, that I originally designed.
Okay, Vice Mayor Thompson, thank you for your input. Anyone else, future agenda items? Having none, administration reports. Mr. Legrone.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd like to just take a minute and congratulate Jackie on her achievement of becoming a certified municipal clerk. Jackie's done that while not only raising her family, also working here every day, and taking on multiple other things in the community. If you're not aware, she is an award-winning director of a play that is still on hold, but it will be coming out soon. I'll let her say the name because I'm embarrassed to say it, but anyway, she is also a director. But anyway, she did earn that, and I was notified of it back on July 31st. And I just want to say congratulations, Jackie. You've been a wonderful employee. You've done a great job for us. No, she's not going nowhere, but I just want to let her know that she has been very valuable to our organization. And I really appreciate you and the work that you do.
Thank you, Jackie. Tom.
Thank you.
Just continue to work on the projects we've been working on. Don is working hard on the municipal services review. We're working on several annexations. Annexation in South Lincoln is going to Laco September 3rd, I believe, the date. Also the development impact fees, which Leo and Don had to redirect our consultant on, and we'll work with that consultant about reimbursement for that. And then Councilmember Smith mentioned the $4.9 million. It's actually allocated by jurisdiction, so Oroville is allocated 15% of that money on a first-come, first-served basis, and he indicated the amounts. That's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just jump back in real quick, I'd also like to report out on what occurred yesterday at the executive committee meeting. There are some items that were on that meeting that are probably of interest to the public, one of them probably being the South Oroville Community Center. What that item is that we have been contacted by the county and notified that the South Side Community Center grant obligation to the county expires in June of 2021. We were asked if we had any interest in the building. So the purpose of the meeting yesterday with the executive committee was to get direction from the executive committee as to if we had any interest in this building. We were given that direction yesterday, and we will be bringing this back to the entire council prior to us proceeding to do anything. So I just wanted to set everybody's concern aside that they may have. We're not moving in tomorrow or kicking anybody out or doing anything like that. It's just a procedural process to see, because we were one of the primary contributors to the building when it first went into play. We have approximately, somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million invested in that building. So that's why we're being asked as an organization if we have any interest in it. So yes, we did that. We also had a conversation regarding the El Medeo Fire District. There is some issues that are occurring with the fire district now that Chief Dill and Chief Tins are working on. We will be further working, reaching out to the El Medeo board to have further discussions with them to see how we can resolve those issues and ensure that we're providing the best quality service possible to the residents inside of that district, which also includes residents of the city of Oroville. So we talked about that. We talked about a community diversion program that Chief Dill and his department is working on. That will be coming back to council for a full review and approval prior to implementation. You can anticipate seeing that in the next probably 4 to 6 weeks. We also covered some other grounds regarding the Girdler Building and the potential of partnering with the Hmong community for a cultural center there. It looks like that we will probably be entering or asking to enter into some sort of deal with the Hmong community. That will also be coming back to the council. Anything that we talked about will be coming back to the council with a recommendation from the executive committee to the council. So we covered those items. If there was anything else on there that I didn't cover that you're interested in, please feel free to ask or contact me and I'll fill you in on what that is. But you will be seeing all of those items back in front of you in some form or another, probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Thank you. Leo?
Councilperson Goodson has a question, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Goodson, did you wish to speak?
Yes, Bill, what was the name of that building that you said potential partnership with the Hmong Cultural Community Center?
I'm sorry, Councilperson Goodson, you broke up really bad. What was your question?
The question was in regards to the name of the building that you mentioned, the Hmong Cultural Center partnering with the city. What was the name of that building?
It's called the Girdler Building. It's down on Broderick. It's actually adjacent to the Chinese temple. If you're looking into the temple, it's to the left of it. It kind of looks like an old livery stable.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
And the reason why we think that would be a good asset down there is because I think that would give an opportunity to have 3 unique different experiences if you're in the area: the Chinese temple, the Hmong Cultural Center, and then the Bolt Tool Museum. I think that would be a neat tie-in for the Bolt Museum, which is a little bit distant from the Chinese temple at this point. So that's kind of how these thoughts have come about.
Is that,
That's all I got. I'm out.
yeah, your time's up. Leo?
Yeah, I thought I'd just review a few of the development projects we have going right now. Currently, we're underway on the municipal auditorium roof. That just started actually yesterday. About 30 days of work to be done on that. We actually have the pre-construction meeting tomorrow for the Montgomery and Table Mountain Sewer Project, so that's pre-construction there. Additionally, tonight, you guys awarded the sewer slip lining project for the year. We plan on bringing the roundabout to council for approval for that RFP on the first meeting in October. Additionally, in October, we're looking at awarding the contract for the pipe bursting on 162, that emergency repair we have out there. And hopefully by the end of September, we're just finishing up the bidding on the pavement rehabilitation for this year, and we hope to award that contract by the end of September. We're currently working on getting the RFP together for the 2021 pavement rehab project, as well as our initial kickoff of our slurry program RFP. So we're working on those now currently. With regard to residential construction, we're up to 54 permits issued out at Ridgeview, which is used to be Vista del Oro. And we're proceeding with the annexation of Ruddy Creek, currently working on that now. Additionally, due to the new technology we've now put in place, we feel we can hold public meetings again, so we're going to hold the public meeting for the Thermalito proposed annexation as well, so we can get that underway and see if that's fruitful. And currently, that's about it. We're well underway on the Starbucks out there on 162 and Lower Wyandotte. And then we have some, Mavericks has got approved, just getting approved on their building plans for the corner of 162 and Feather River, along with we have a proposed car wash, Blue Surf car wash, that wants to go in and use this additional leftover parcel right next to that as well. So right next door to the Maverick on that remaining parcel between Mavericks and the freeway.
Got a question about that. Would that be for large profile vehicles?
No, it'll be for, it won't be for trucks. It'll be for.
Vehicles.
Vehicles, yeah. Up to, your 4x4 pickup kind of thing. And that's about it.
Councilmember Hatley wishes to ask
Yeah.
a
Oh, yeah.
question.
Thank you. I have a question on the, when you mentioned the realignment or whatever we're going to do on the Table Mountain sewer line, that's
Oh,
coming
that's
down.
just a rehabilitation, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
rehabilitation.
okay. Now, when they put in that roundabout there at Nelson, well, they put 4 90s in that thing, okay? You and I both know that just doesn't work real well, and we were told that it was going to be monitored continually every so often. They were going to keep a chart and make sure that we didn't have any restrictions because of all those 90s. Now, first question, is that still happening? Are they still monitoring that?
They're still monitoring it. That's not part of this project, but they're still
Well, I know,
monitoring.
but I'm just
They do.
asking the question
Yeah.
there. Okay. Now, on this, is there going to be any, I mean, at some point, are we going to try and fix that? Or is it going to be just kind of there and we're just going to have to try and monitor forever? Or, that was a bad deal when that happened, but.
I think I
guess the
can,
best thing I'd say was that we're gonna monitor continually. If it starts to show that there's a problem, we'll do something about it. If it's going to, we've invested good money in putting it in there. I don't imagine we'll spend money on it until we realize it, till it starts to cause a problem. But we continue to monitor to make sure that it's not, that we're on top of it as it starts to become that.
I think Councilman Hatley, if I could help with this, there's a large apartment complex that may be going in that corner soon. It's an affordable housing project that may be going in there. If that does go in there, then we'll have to consider what we're going to do with that pipe, because I realized that was a mistake when it got put in there. It was misengineered, and they tried to go around something with this, and that's what caused this. So at that time, with the increased usage of the pipe, we are probably going to have to look at that at that point and see what we're going to do about realigning that properly. It's unfortunate, but at this point, we've bought it, and now we're going to have to deal with it. So I think in the next couple of years, we may be looking at that.
They had talked about it before, though, when the roundabout, when they were taking all the heavy equipment up the road there, and they were gonna have to redo something that they were thinking about during that, whatever they were gonna have to do to repair that roundabout that was damaged, that they were gonna look at that and
Well,
kind of evaluate it.
if we have a reason, if it's working but we have another reason to get in there and we're in there we will definitely address it. I would say that I wouldn't want to.
Well, I'm not suggesting tear it up right now.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
saying that if we're gonna, I just want to make sure that we're still monitoring
We are.
that. So we don't have backups, because we did have backups before, and it cost the city a lot of money because,
And
That's why we're doing the 162 pipe bursting, because we ran into, that was a real critical, similar
Right.
situation where we're not getting flow, and if both pump stations turn on at the same time, we could get an illicit discharge. That's why we're going after getting that one, because that one is an emergency right now, and that's how, and we monitor that flow all the time. So
Okay.
it's on the top of the list.
All
I
right.
will bring this up, though, since we're talking about it on the Table Mountain, sewer project. It was the low bid. Next lowest bid was about $500,000 more. We're going 30 feet deep on that one. We will probably ask direction from council. We haven't even started the job yet, but you don't know what's gonna happen 30 feet down. So we will probably come back to council at some point soon and ask direction on how we wanna handle if changes come up during that, and so that we make sure that we keep the job moving, but we handle it in a way that council's comfortable with. So that is a concern I have before we've even started the job, because of the depth of that one, that I do want to take the opportunity to bring that up now as well.
And we'd also like some direction from the council on that, because I know in the past there has been work order changes that have occurred during the day that have been very expensive, that have been not what the council wanted. And those changes followed the individuals that made those changes until they left. So we don't want to get into that situation again. So what we're looking for is a threshold of what you can tolerate if one of those changes occur that is an immediate change that needs to happen. Our intent would be is if a large, I don't know, there's a big rock in the way and we got to blow it up or whatever. I mean, and it's going to cost $75,000 extra dollars in order to get this thing done for whatever reason. Is the council comfortable with staff making that decision, then calling for a council meeting to validate the decision? Or would the council rather staff stop work, which is going to be more expensive, and come to council and have that decision made. We were just looking for a threshold because we don't want to rehash or recreate or have the same problems that we've had in the past again. So we're looking for kind of a threshold through consensus of the council. What number can you live with at the most?
We need to move that to an agenda item for the next agenda. Right now, we're in administration reports. So I'd like that on a future agenda item, Mr. City
like it as an agenda
Administrator.
item, yes, sir.
Vice Mayor Thompson has some questions for you, Leo.
Thanks. Thanks, Leo. Just out of curiosity, simple curiosity, the roundabout across, on our side here, on,
Right up here in the corner?
yeah.
Yeah.
There, do we know what, there's a, right across the street from the Bulldog, they're flattening that out. Do you know what that's for? Or just, they're just clearing it out for?
Taking the trees out.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was just clearing it out.
Second thing is, I know that we were working on one point I know we are not continually, working on a fee structure for people who own property, business owners who are not taking care of the landscaping in front of their properties. There's been ongoing issues. Is there an update on that?
What we're doing is we actually, with regard to the landscape lighting maintenance agreements, we're looking at, we've been going, with the fee structure we have is 100, 200,
I know.
500,000. We've gone through that. One property that has been a thorn for quite some time now went all the way through a second $1,000 fine. They actually were proceeding to want to work on an additional property. We did not allow that to proceed until this stuff is cleared up. We didn't want to take a further risk, so that's how we're doing that. Been talking with the city attorney about working on maybe going to a lien on that. And then this person typically leverages their properties for other properties, and if we put a lien on it, that might stop them being able to loan on that or to pull funds on that. So we're working on those type of ways to go after them. Other than that, we can, there's the option if we were gonna do the work, we felt it was a visible enough area, and then lean that back on us on the cost of that. We don't usually typically like to get into that. We prefer them to nudge them into voluntary compliance, I guess would be a good way of saying it. For the most part, we've been starting to get some good response on the fines as they come up, most of them on a first or second fine. We've reached out to on the ones that are national chains, we've reached out to the corporate people, and that's where we've actually started to get in that, because most of them have sustainability component to how they rate their managers. Landscaping falls under that, and if we've been trying to hunt out the right people to get a hold of and spur them to do the work. It is a constant battle. I mean, other than getting to the point of leaning the property, we don't, or doing the work ourselves, we can just fine, and we don't have, if they choose not to pay it, they just collect it up, and we end up going to collection on them on that. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Because I know.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, because one of them specifically is really close to, coming into town, so it's just first thing you see.
Yeah, and that's when we've been talking, I mean, that's been a problem for quite a while. We might have to revisit maybe some alternate measures on that to satisfy, I mean, it does represent us coming off the freeway there.
Is it an option for us on the next, one of our steps to do the work and charge,
We'd have to lean it back against the property. That is, yes, that is an option.
but not just charge, but like, to where it was well worth the city's.
Yeah, all we really could do would be, we could charge back what the cost of the
Okay.
city was at that point in time.
Last question for you is on the Muni. I know we're doing much, and I think you and I have talked as far as the renovations there. I think it's amazing, everything that's happening there. Everything that you guys' departments is doing there is just awesome. It is a key building for our city. It's right downtown. In regarding now, after you guys, is there moving forward plans is after the inside and everything, the basic stuff's taken care of, the roof, the floor's done, now you guys taking care of the inside, bathrooms and all that, but as far as
we're developing that RFP right now.
so for the outside is now, as far as the frontage there, all that concrete's, warbling off, as well as the windows and just the whole front, is there a plan at some point to begin to start addressing that?
Well, right now, what we're addressing is getting the envelope tight.
Right.
And then we're gonna do the interior, the restrooms, and also we're doing the site accessibility. So to get from the public way down below up to that level. We're working on getting a ramp put in there and working on those plans now. Returning the front area to stairs, where we have the old defunct
Fountain.
As far as the front facade, part of the roofing project is all the fascia is coming off, and new fascia and flashing is going on because that's failed, and that's been part of the leakage to the interior, and the building's being painted. From a new front facade design, we haven't tackled that at this point in time. If we got direction from council, obviously, we would pursue that. That'd be quite an undertaking, I think.
Well, even simple things like that. We talked about the windows. You got one side that's double, height, and the other one is full
Yeah,
length.
we haven't planned on tackling it at this point in time, but if we got direction to do that, we could add that to the RFP. We have RFP coming out probably in the next 2 months. We're getting plans worked on right now to put that out, so that could be added to scope if council chose so.
Great, because in my opinion, it being like Jewel, it's right downtown. I know that we have our theater, but you drive down Myers and you're looking at it all the way down.
And we have a lease, when are we exercising the lease?
We have an exclusive operating agreement that will go into full effect in January.
So we're trying to get as much of this wrapped up prior to that.
Right. Thank you.
One quick question for you, if I may.
Yes, Councilmember Pitt.
The project's completed on Lower Wyandotte, the drain. It seems like that got all taken care of. Did that turn to be as big a deal as we thought, or did it be a lesser project?
It was one that just needed to get done.
Just being done, okay.
It was, Councilman Pittman, exactly what we thought. It was a very rusted out pipe that had been neglected for a long time, and fortunately, our contractor got in there, jumped on it. To me, it was amazing, all the things that were going on at that particular corner with Starbucks being built, them fixing the road. They decided at the same week, I think, to change the pumps out at the Power Mart, so there were trucks everywhere, but they did jump in there, they did get it done. That was quite an extensive repair, and it was a much-needed repair for that area.
Okay, appreciate that, thank you.
We won't be getting
Yeah.
the whoop-you-doos anymore on that.
Thank you, Leo. Man, you
Thank you.
really got grilled. Dawn?
Hello again, Mayor and council members. I just wanted to provide an update on the status of the Bedrock Park restrooms. These restrooms actually underwent a fire in spring, as you're aware. We have enclosed those restrooms currently with a temporary fence because we have spoken with many of the council members about repurposing those restrooms into a recreational kiosk in which you could rent kayaks or bicycles, and then it would allow you to recreate along our river, our beautiful river. So we have here for you a proposed floor plan and elevation of that kiosk. So it would be, we're seeking funding opportunities for this, but we had to start with a jumping off point, basically, this floor plan, so that we can put it out for bid. But again, we are seeking funding for this. In addition to this, we would also like to add back Portland Loos at Bedrock Park, Centennial Plaza, and the Veterans Memorial Park. This would have 3 locations for public restrooms along the levee. Additionally, we would look at upgrading or updating or relocating the pit toilet at the Nature Center. It's become kind of a nuisance in recent years. And so potential funding sources for these projects would be the Prop 68 funding and approximately the amount of $177,000. We have park impact fees that have accrued that are at about approximately $344,000, as well as other funding sources that total approximately $240,000. We also are entertaining a potential pocket park at the Pioneer Memorial Museum. The city owns the adjacent lot between the Pioneer Museum and the Veterans Hall. This is something that we would entertain partnering with the Rotary Club in turning that into a park for our community. And another update regarding the levee. we have tried to contact or contract with a goat grazing company for weed abatement. It's a natural way of abating the weeds along our levee. It would go from the water line of the riparian area up to the top of the levee. I've contacted 4 outfits and have received response from 2, and then the response just fell off. They stopped communicating. Actually, this afternoon, we received an inquiry from Western Grazers of Red Bluff to see if we had any interest in goat grazing. And so I will be contacting them to see, we just want to know what price we're looking at to cover from Highway 70 up to the Table Mountain Bridge. Depending on what that cost is, we would either put it out for RFP and bring it back to council to request that. So we're just trying to entertain that as an option for weed abatement for our community. So.
Councilmember Hatley had a question for you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Don, I know that when you talked about funding for this project here, when, I know this is kind of sore subject to some folks, but when the SBF, when that settlement agreement, a lot of that money was supposed to be used for the levee area and the downtown area and to build up, to bring people in, which exactly what this is doing.
Right.
This looks like a great project. Did you mention that?
That would be that would fall under one of the other funding sources.
Okay, I didn't hear that. 'Cause
Yes,
I
whether
missed
it would
I'm
be
sorry.
for constructing the kiosk or the building, or for putting it out for RFP through the SBF to have Feather River Parks and Rec, the Aquatic Center, another agency to run that facility for us.
Right. Well, I just know that that's what part of that, when that was all negotiated, it was for
Yes.
riverfront here.
You're
and
correct.
For the downtown area and that. So I just wanted to make sure that we
Yeah.
were looking for that.
It just fell in the other category there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
I have a question.
Councilmember Draper?
Yeah, Don, I would just like to say that this is really needed in this town. I received so many emails from people about the lack of restrooms because we just don't have any downtown, and this would be really great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I would like to comment that in 1980, I worked on the bedrock restrooms with my father, and they are still standing, the masonry portion.
Yes.
That is a testament to masonry.
We had the site assessed, and the 2 front walls, we would try to retain those for the front facing walls of that building. So.
Yes, great.
Tear everything else down.
It's down. Ruth, did you have anything?
No, just keeping the status quo.
Okay, thank you. Joe, Chief, sorry.
I just have a couple of things. The remodel project at the police and fire station is still ongoing. There have been some various change orders that have been requested of some things that we didn't know were there once they opened the floor up and things like that. I can certainly bring those items back so you know the cost that we increased in that. But Leo and I are working together on trying to keep that project going and keep them focused on the job. Also, I just want to make sure the council's aware, just based upon a comment earlier, every peace officer from the rank of sergeant and down is required to attend emergency vehicle operation course twice a year, and we're totally up to date on that training. That's all I
Thank
have.
you. Thank you. Mr. Ritchie?
Nothing to advise you of tonight, thank you.
Okay, well, with that, we will adjourn this meeting. The next meeting will be August 18th, 2020 at 4:30 PM. Cool.